We are ready to move on to Team Azure. I will reset the clock and Team Azure, when you are ready, please start.
Good morning and welcome to Art in the Alley, a design project meant to ignite creative community co-curation. Team Azure, whom you'll meet today, is made up of the following outstanding members: Davier Snipes, Diamond Bradley, Kim Hawkins, Michelle Alexander, and myself, April McCown. So let's dive in. Next slide. Laying the framework for today, you can see that we've broken our methodology of this project into 4 categories: our understanding of the project and how we will approach this conversation, who is Tucker through the mission, vision statements, and planning efforts thus far, community engagement strategies, and finally, recommendations and benchmarking. Next slide. Our team approached today's conversation with a desire to truly understand Tucker and ensure all recommendations mirrored that of who Tucker is and seeks to be. Our approach was simple, yet I think effective. Conduct research, physically and virtually, including studying all plans that the city has adopted. Seek to understand the current demographic makeup of the community and how this will play a direct role in public art and thus economic development. And finally, take city policy, ordinances, and history of Tucker into consideration with all final recommendations. Next slide. As previously stated, understanding who Tucker is was important to our team. Based on the adopted vision statement from the City of Tucker's comprehensive plan, Tucker identifies as welcoming and safe, feels stronger while working together, and thinks of today, tomorrow, and more importantly, together. Together stood out to us, and it stands out to Tucker, which allows our team to cultivate a community engagement strategy with that in mind. Next slide. I will now pass it on to my colleague, Diamond Bradley.
So today I'll be speaking about community engagement. So we believe that community engagement will play a vital role in designing and captivating the experience that the citizens of Tucker and visitors from all walks of life will find engaging and captivating. This experience will involve a co-curated process where the citizens, businesses, and organizations of Tucker will have the opportunity to provide an authentic outlook on how they see Tucker. We can move on to the next slide. Thank you. We recommend this method and approach of co-curation and see it as a valuable contribution. Examples can highlight families, leaders of past and present, and historical landmarks of Tucker. We also believe that new business owners, restaurants, patrons, families, like I said, should be involved in this process. And it is something that we realize is becoming, I don't want to say a trend, but it is becoming a new approach. Okay, we started again. so we do believe that this approach is something that we are seeing throughout the cities of Georgia, and in other local areas where we're seeing our civic leaders painted on murals. We're seeing quotes from our community leaders and mayors and organizers. And so we thought that this would be a great contribution to the city of Tucker as it is a new city, and also to the families that have been living there and been experiencing what Tucker is like. And so this valuable contribution to the Tucker Alley requires a process that is handled with excellence and proper representation. My colleague Daviar will continue explaining this process.
Yes, thank you, Diamond. So as we build on the recommendations of community engagement, we want to employ the same template of co-curation in the selection process of the art for the alleyways. Now, what we wanted to do was develop a selection process that would be effective at reaching the most substantial amount of the Tucker community. So we want to note that these recommendations are not all encompassing. Like, we want to leave room for additional contributions to be made by the Tucker community themselves based on their personal knowledge and needs for their own community. So we recommend seeing these actions as first steps in the overall process. So the first step we would like to look at is a community-based task force. So a group of local residents to aid in the recruiting of artists and the jury selection of the type of art that will make up the project. Like the most important aspect of this task force that we recommend is that they collectively reflect the diversity of Tucker. We recommend downtown business owners, public school art teachers, recreation center directors or employees, and local artists already living in Tucker as the prime candidates to help make up this particular task force. We would also like to introduce the idea of a suggestion box, a public-facing downtown located drop box to take the recommendations of both the type of art and artists that residents would like to see represented. We recommend both a physical and a digital location that functions perhaps through Facebook or the City of Tucker website to provide greater accessibility for those who can't automatically get downtown. Of course, there is always the need for surveys. Now, we recommend digital surveys to increase the engagement of the community and reach those whom access may be an issue. We recommend this also as an option to connect residents more activated online, and also an additional tool to engage younger community leaders as well. We would also like to recommend a co-curation with family-based public events that already exist and have high engagement currently in structured entities such as art festivals and hackathons as a strong way to introduce residents to the Art in the Alleyway project itself and to enlist the ideas or proposals from the community and how they would want to get involved. Now, as we consider these additional recommendations for engagement and for how we put together the public art structure, we will now take a look at the city's ordinance guidelines through which the project should operate. And I'll toss it to Michelle Alexander.
Hi, thank you so much. In addition to this organic process of engaging and co-cultivating with your different community members, we thought it important that the City of Tucker formalize its program. So we prepared as part of our deliverables and as presented through the webpage that Josh has prepared. We have a draft ordinance, and we took this from examples around the nation of an ordinance that puts into place the purpose, the goals, and gives something for your artists to throw their darts at to really understand what it is that the city is seeking when you pursue any of the public arts approaches. So it would establish both the task force as a formalized entity. This helps protect politics, keeps it out of politics, and really can put it the decision-making in the hands of artists themselves and community members. Next slide. And part of the ordinance process we thought was important to provide you some criteria. One of the, Tucker asked us to help with the process, and we gave a selection of options to consider for criteria, including some questions that the artist would have to respond to that really gives the flavor and texture of what would be proposed for any of the responses to any RFP that the city initiates. I'm going to let Kimberly talk about some of the benchmarking and recommendations for benchmarking types of art.
Thank you, Michelle. So in reviewing the research and background information you provided to us, our goal was to answer the questions and also provide some additional insights that might support what you're trying to achieve in your design project. Next slide, please. What we wanted to add to the research was some other uses of the alleyways from both an artistic and functional standpoint. You see them listed here, and I'm going to briefly highlight them in these opportunities that may provide some additional inspiration. Next slide. The Rail Container Gallery pays homage to your rail routes. It has the benefits of potentially being temporary and movable, which allows for a lot of experimentation in terms of art that can be displayed. The outside of the container can also be used as a creative canvas, as you can see in this slide. Next slide. Alley Play also provides some temporary, non-permanent ideas for engaging visitors in activities like hopscotch, checkers, and chalkboard wall. Since we know the foundation of creativity is play, adding the play component could position Tucker as a play destination. Next slide. We also noticed in the most popular design from the research that the favorite photo had the overhang alley lights. These are some other interesting and also potential skyway uses that could provide another opportunity to add creative inspiration to your alleyways. Next slide, please. We also wanted to give you some programming ideas as well. From a programming standpoint, a chalk fest in the alley might be a way to kick off any improvements and could also serve as a beta test for types of art that resonate with your community and that you might consider in a more permanent installation. We also noticed in the research.
We're at time now.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to need to move to the questions, and you can maybe get some of the last few points out in the questions. Commissioner Williams, will you lead us on the questions?
So the first thing I thought was, I want to go there. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see what Tucker really looks like. And these alleys are just fascinating to me. A couple of comments that I had. One was, I noticed that you had established the idea of an arts fund that would be actually dedicated to art, the 0.5% or the 1% of your capital improvement plans. I thought that was just a great idea. How do you think that would go over with the city council in Tucker? Would they be, what do you think their reaction would be to that?
I'll take that. This is Michelle. Like anything, you'd have to talk through with the council members, the elected officials, the return on that investment. Spending money is always hard, especially elected officials who want to be, responsible and fiscally prudent. So I think the first step would be talking through the return on the investment of how it adds value, property value, and stimulates economic development, and have the creatives as an economic driver. I think without that, it's a tough sell. I think you have to really work through with the elected officials for them to see the value.
And I think what also we can add is, I think that is also the importance of a task force, which is a community-based group of folks to kind of help talk about not only the necessity of the art, but also how the supporting of that art could therefore then support that council person that helps fund that art. It's reciprocal in how it helps both sides, because I can see the particular council people who are supporters of that being very popular in the city of Tucker.
So, yes, and I like that idea of having the task force communicate with the people, because not only do you have to talk and convince the city council, you have to convince the people who elect them that that's how they want their money spent. Yes. So from our chat board, we have one question: did you consider to create more public enthusiasm and to allow for building civic voice, having the community vote online for favorite submissions?
Yes, April, I see you jumped on. Come on, take it.
I'm happy to do that. We definitely were considering that through the Dropbox mentality, but also through the task force also. Our public engagement strategy was meant to be something that people could engage in various facets, where we could get their opinion wherever they're comfortable, whether it's through a Dropbox mentality, maybe those generational individuals who prefer to write down their opinion and prefer like a visual survey, as opposed to potentially putting something on the website or doing some type of campaign through their community relations department to interact with the public and those underrepresented populations to understand what their voice is and what their preference looks like. So those were all considerations taken. That was a great question.
So one last question that I have is, did you, and how did you, I'm assuming you did, look at other communities and how they have approached this kind of project? And tell us about that experience.
Kimberly, you had a lot of experience with that and looking at Miami in particular. Did you mind speaking on that?
Sure. Hi, Doreen. So one of the projects that we looked at was the Windward Arts Project in Miami, which was a mural project that has been taking place over the last 20 years or so. And we really think that there's an opportunity for Tucker to kind of leverage their walls. I mean, I met with the owner of one of the breakfast restaurants downtown, who is really excited about cultivating that area, and he's buying a restaurant next door. And so I think that, in combination with potentially using some resources from Living Walls, which is a local Atlanta mural-based organization, to not only as a social justice platform, but also driving economic development. So those are two of the benchmarks that we looked at.
Thank you. Josh, do we have any more time?
We're actually out of time, and I apologize. I
Okay.
didn't put my last 1 minute warning up there.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Team Azure. Thank you, Commissioner Williams.